Hey guys, today we're gonna watch
Planet Dolan.
Planet Dolan.
From anime conventions to online role-playing,
What?
the Planet Dolan
I
crew
watched this,
reenacts
like,
some of the
a
best
lot.
true
I watched
stories from our subreddit about how we met our partner.
Watched this like every single day though. With my coffee.
Number 10 was submitted by Elza Knight. One day, Spinal Palm stumbled upon the MMORPG Guild Wars 2.
What is
He hadn't
this?
found a group in the game until a message appeared in the chat about the guild searching for members. He was bored and thought, hey, why not? A girl he didn't know also happened to see the message. She had never been in a guild before, but the members seemed nice, so she decided to join as well. They both ran around in the guild every once in a while. Spinal Palm was more active, while the girl was on occasionally and not very talkative. One day, he was in an area of the game that was quite new to him, so Spinal Palm asked the guild if anyone would like to join him. The girl happened to be online and decided that she would tag along. They ended up running around for hours. From then on, they spent many late nights hanging out in the game and chatting. 3 months on, and Spinal Palm was ready to confess his feelings to the girl. She reciprocated, and they are still together. Number 9 was submitted by Hero
What?
Brining. Legna was a fan of an illustrator named Jolly, who had made some fan art from his stories. He followed her work for a while before deciding to leave a comment. He had never seen anyone put so much detail into a painting. He talked about her a few times to his friend Tomboy. One day, Tomboy decided to make a Minecraft recorded series and invited a bunch of people to record. Much to Legna's surprise, his friend had invited Jolly. She said yes, unaware that Legna would be there. When she saw Legna, she flipped out. He waltzed right up to her and talked to her like it was nothing. After that recording session, they started role-playing together and talking almost every day. They began collaborating on projects and gradually realized how much they liked each other. They have been together for 2 years and have their own comic series. Number 8 was submitted by A Universe Within a Fez. During high school, Melissa would attend an all-day camp once a year. The first year of camp, Melissa became friends with 2 other girls, and they developed a rivalry with a trio of boys. However, when she signed up again for the second year, the 2 girls she befriended weren't there. She sat in the corner alone until 2 boys walked up to her. They were 2/3 of the male trio. One of them commented on her Pokemon t-shirt, and they bonded over their love of the series. Along with the other boy, the 3 of them became fast friends. Once again, summer ended, and they said goodbye to each other. In the 3rd year of camp, only Melissa and the boy who also loved Pokemon remained. At this time, she realized that she was developing feelings for him. On the final day of camp, Melissa gave him a hug, but then ran off due to embarrassment. Luckily, they had exchanged numbers, and later in that week, she received a text from him. He asked Melissa if she liked him. She responded with yes, then waited 10 agonizing seconds for a reply. It read, I like you too, but I just moved to New Mexico. That was halfway across the country for Melissa. They lost contact until Christmas Eve, when she received a text from him saying Merry Christmas. Melissa responded with a witty Pokemon flirt plus a Merry Christmas to you too. They picked up almost where they left off, texting for a couple of days. Melissa then decided to go for it, asking him, what are we? Are we together? His response was, will you be my girlfriend? They have been a happy couple ever since. Number 7 was submitted by ShadowWolf150. Emoji had been looking on Instagram to commission an artist for a project. One day, he found someone that caught his eye. He followed her and liked and commented on her work. She would reply with cute little comments. After 2 weeks of this, she private messaged him. She introduced herself and they talked for hours. They had lots in common and became really good friends. Sadly though, she lived on the other side of the US. One day, Emoji saw on Instagram that she was going through a really tough time. She told him everything that happened and Emoji comforted her. She thanked him for listening. It was in that moment that Emoji knew he wanted to protect her. He was falling in love. When she was happy again, Emoji asked if he could have a video chat with her on Skype. He thought she was pretty and almost blushed when she told him he looked handsome. Eventually, Emoji decided it was time to tell her how he felt. He took a deep breath and asked her out. Emoji was listening through headphones and she said, "Yes," so loud that it hurt his ears. It's been almost 3 months and they're both currently saving up money to visit each other. Number 6 was submitted by Gaming Love 54. For her birthday, Andy had received a 4-day pass for an anime and gaming convention. On the second day of the convention, she was at a photo shoot for the game Undertale. She was cosplaying as the character Kara and met a boy there who was dressed as Sans the Skeleton, her character's rival. After talking for a while, they took some photos together. When he had to leave, Andy forgot to ask him for any contact info. She thought she would never see him again. On the Saturday, Andy was standing in line in the gaming area and noticed that someone looked very familiar. She ran up to them, and it turned out to be the guy. While at an Undertale panel, Andy decided to hold his hand. He looked at her and smiled, interlocking his fingers with hers. They texted that night about what they would dress as the next day. He was going as Steven from Steven Universe, a show that Andy loved. Unexpectedly, he asked Andy to be his Connie. They spent the whole final day together. When Andy started thinking about things not working out, she messaged him, "I didn't want to hurt you, I'm sorry," and ran off. He eventually found her and talked to her. He was so nice that Andy broke into tears and hugged him before they parted to go home. He is so sweet that Andy hopes they stay together forever. Number 5 was submitted by Yami Tamaki. One day, Ladybot traveled to an art convention in Dublin, Ireland. She was a manga artist and attended them often for inspiration. One morning, she went to a diner to eat breakfast. She sat at a table and ordered her food. Without realizing, Ladybot had been staring at the waiter, and he noticed this. When he brought her food, he delivered the check with his number written on it. They ended up texting for months before officially dating. They are now married and very happy, although his thick accent is still hard to understand. Number 4 was submitted by Twisted Memory. Robo was at work and in a bad mood, so he decided to go to the break room. When he arrived, there was a young girl sitting in the back reading a book. He sat near her to eat his food. She waved at him, but he just nodded back and looked away. Robo did not feel like talking to anyone. After an hour, she got up and went to the cafe. Robo was still hungry, so he followed her there. It turned out that the girl worked at the cafe. After a week or so, he tried getting to know her, finding out she loved One Piece and Attack on Titan. After 6 months, Robo decided to give it a shot and ask her out. But she said, "Not yet." Robo asked if that meant no. She answered, "No, it means not now. I have too much on my plate." Instead of giving up, Robo waited another week before finally asking her out again. She said yes, and it will soon be their 18-month anniversary. Number 3 was submitted by Templar Scouta. Yeah. When Sweet Commando was a first year in the Air Force Training Corps, he spotted a girl at a color guard practice. She taught him how to carry the flag and march correctly. After this, when he'd see her in the hallway, they would talk. She was extremely weird and goofy. Sweet Commando absolutely loved it, but he assumed someone that great would already be taken. Her 6th period was right by his, so she started waiting for him after class. He thought that meant she must like him. Sweet Commando had feelings for her too, so he decided to ask her out. He was scared and didn't even say anything on their way to lunch. He sat down across from her in the cafeteria and said,
"Will you go out with me?"
so fast that she didn't understand him. He was hesitant to repeat it, but slowed his speech and asked her out again. She looked at him and said, "Yes!" Internally, he was screaming, and he just collapsed and fell on the table. Number 2 was submitted by Shripasaur. Princess was playing an online game called Neverwinter. She would often go into the social area and see the same character around, but couldn't work up the courage to say hi. When she eventually worked up the nerve, he logged out just as she typed hi. She kept trying though, and on the 3rd attempt, he replied. Both of them had just left their previous partners, and initially didn't want to get into anything deep. But as time went on, they started to like each other more and more, and eventually he asked her out. Only one little problem. Spincess lived in Canada and he lived in the US. They video chatted for a few months while Spincess worked up the funds and organized the paperwork to go visit him. She planned to stay 3 months, but in the end used her full 6-month allowance. During those months together, Spincess worked up the courage and asked him to marry her. After 7 months of paperwork and interviews, she got her K-1 visa to re-enter the States and marry him. They just celebrated their first Valentine's Day as a married couple, and she loves him more than anything. And while we're on the subject of partners, congratulations to Dolan and Goopy. Woo! Number 1 was submitted by me. So before I had my Doopy channel, I had a different animation channel. And I was also doing animations and cartoons and stuff like that on that channel. One day I received a message from a boy named Jess, and we hit it off immediately. He wanted to be a voice actor for one of my animations, but we ended up becoming really great friends. We added each other on Skype, and we just couldn't stop talking to each other. I was going through a rough time, so I wasn't ready for a relationship quite yet, but he wanted to be with me so badly, and he was really fucking cute. So eventually we got together, and we Skyped every single day. I lived in Florida, and he lived all the way across America and California. It was really hard for us because we ended up falling so in love that being apart was absolutely unbearable. So he scraped up as much money as he could to come fly down and visit me for a day. That day was so amazing, and we ended up spending the entire day just kissing each other. It was insane. Literally hours just making out. Jess is getting embarrassed listening to me talk about this. So when he had to fly back home, I remember it was just so hard for us to be apart from each other, that as soon as he landed back home, we already decided he was going to move down to Florida to be with me permanently. Like, there was no questions. He saved up as much money as he could from his job at Home Depot to fly down, and we didn't even have enough money for him to get an apartment or anything, but we promised each other that we would make it work, and we did. And we've been together for 6 years now, apart from, breaking up once in a while because, we had our problems, but for the most part, we've been very, very happy together. Huge thanks for the folks over in our Planet Dolan subreddit for submitting their stories. We have another question for you. What's the best lie you've told to get out of trouble? Let us know in the Reddit page linked below, and you might be featured in a future countdown. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Bye guys, this is the end. Wait, bye. It's finished the video. Bye. See you next time.